I'm calling to order this hearing or roundtable. This is a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. The time is 1:07 p.m. and we are in room 412 of the John A. Wilson Building. This hearing is being recorded. I do not know if it's being broadcast live. This hearing is or will be available on the council's website, which is www.dccouncil.gov. The subject of this hearing, and actually this is the first of several hearings this afternoon that the Committee of the Whole is having, and I should call it a roundtable, not a hearing, which is a function of our rules and the notice period for this. The subject of this roundtable is consideration of 3 nominations that were submitted by the mayor to the council for confirmation. She submitted them on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, and they are PR 26-168, entitled Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, Michael Dannenberg, Confirmation Resolution 2025. PR 26-169, Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, David Kroom, Confirmation Resolution 2025. And PR 26-170, Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, Dr. Abdemi Oyedel, Confirmation Resolution of 2025. The purpose of these resolutions is to confirm the mayor's nominations to appoint Mr. Dannenberg, Mr. Kroom, and Dr. Oyedel to the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia for terms to expire on May 15th. For 2 of them, May 15th, 2028, and for 1 of them, May 15th, 2029. According to the law, UDC is governed by a board of trustees comprised of 15 members. Of these 15, 11 are appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council. 3 are alumni from either the university or one of its predecessor institutions, who I believe are elected by the alumni, and 1 is a full-time student elected by the UDC student body. Today's roundtable will serve as an opportunity for the committee to hear from constituents, students, faculty, and others with regard to the fitness of the nominees to serve on UDC's Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees is the governing body for the university, which is our only institution of higher education in public institution for higher education in the District of Columbia. The record in this matter will close in 2 weeks. That is, it will close on May 14th, 2025. I will note as well that if the council does not act before July 22nd, these resolutions would be deemed disapproved, but unless there's something unforeseen, I plan on presenting these to the council on the first Tuesday of June. Yes, on the first Tuesday of June. As it is, the notice for today's roundtable was published. However, we have exactly 3 witnesses, and those are the 3 nominees. I do want to note Dr. Oyedel has a flight, and I'm told a hard stop at 1:40, but we might be done by then. So I'll begin with Dr. Oyedel, who I believe is participating online. Yes. So I think we have statements from each of you, and Dr. Oyedel, why don't you proceed?
Yes. Apologies for the background noise. I am currently in the airport. I am glad to read my statement. If I can pull it up for 1 moment. So can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Apologies, I had it up and then my phone. So, yep. Okay. I apologize for the delay. but I should have it up shortly. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. Um, So, good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. I'm Dr. Abdemi Dele, and it's my pleasure to receive your consideration for nomination to serve on the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. I'm grateful to Mayor Bowser for a nomination and an honor to have this opportunity to serve the residents of the District of Columbia. As a first-generation immigrant and English language learner, access to a high-quality education has been instrumental to my personal and professional development. I'm currently the Chief Executive Officer at Education for DC, a nonprofit that is dedicated to advancing educational equity for the students of Washington, DC. For 8 years, I've worked to ensure that every child in Washington, DC has access to a high-quality school, that our city attracts or retains exceptional educators, and that our city offers residents and students experiences that prepare them for college and beyond. It has been a pleasure and an honor to support the district and the myriad of talented leaders who have made our space a beacon of progress in the national education landscape. Because of time, I'm going to sort of jump through, but over the past several years, I've had the fortune and opportunity to serve on the board of several public charter schools in the District of Columbia. In those roles, I support schools with the development of strategic plans, the evaluation of programmatic efficacy, the review and retention of strong leaders, succession planning for board members, and the management team, fundraising efforts, and several other critical functions. I've led the work of academic and governance committees and helped those schools track essential performance indicators, recruit board members, evaluate board procedures and operations, and serve as a strategic advisor to the organization's chief executive officers and other senior leadership teams. Through these experiences, I've leveraged my ability as a strong collaborator and someone willing to step up as needed to ensure the critical goals of the organizations are met. The launch of the new strategic plan, delivering on a promise, and under the leadership of Dr. Maurice Eddington, Mayor Bowser, and the City Council, now feels like the right moment to serve the district in this capacity as we seek to deliver for the students and the families. UDC stands as a pivotal point of growth and transformation as it seeks to evolve to meet today's needs. I hope to use my knowledge of the challenges that our K-12 institutions are facing, as well as my past experiences in higher education, to be a thought partner and advisor as UDC seeks to implement a strategic plan. I hope to bring local and national K-12 leaders to the table as they assess the potential for UDC to advance the broader goals, to see more students on a path to career readiness. It is my goal to support the university's mission, to advance these equity-driven initiatives, and to meet the diverse needs of a growing student population. Together with the university's strong leadership and the leadership of council and the mayor, I look forward to ensuring that it fulfills the legacy as an HBCU and a beacon of progress in the nation's capital. Thank you, Chairman Mendelson and the Committee of the Whole for the opportunity to testify. I would be happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Oyedel. I want to hear from the other two, and then I'll have some questions. And my understanding is that we have you until 1:40, which is roughly another 25 minutes.
Sounds about right. Yep. They might call me to board any moment. So
What time are they boarding?
I believe, yes, 1:40.
1:40. Okay. So let's hear from Mr. Dannenberg next. Mr. Kuhman, then I'll have a few questions.
Good afternoon, Chair Mendelson, members of the committee. I'm Michael Dannenberg. It's my pleasure to receive your consideration for the nomination to the Board of Trustees of the University of District of Columbia. I'm a longtime national higher education policy specialist with recent experience at the state level. I've studied UDC in my professional capacity in the past, as well as have an overall understanding of the needs of K-12 students of District of Columbia. I currently serve as the Deputy Commissioner for Policy for the Massachusetts Department of Higher Education, and I commute to that job from my home here in DC. My ties to the district run deep. I've lived in 4 different wards of the city for over 30 years. My child attends a DCPS run school and has attended a District of Columbia public charter school in the past. I've served on my local school advisory team, and while serving on the LSAT, I helped analyze student achievement needs and spearheaded a successful effort, including fundraising, to provide summer tutoring services to students academically behind. I'd like to think over the course of my career, I've developed knowledge and skills that can contribute to UDC's growth and improvement. I've worked with policymakers at every level of government on education issues, authored influential policy briefs, formulated shepherded to legislative enactment, and regulatory adoption of a variety of higher education policies, always with a focus on enhancing socioeconomic mobility for students from historically underserved backgrounds. In terms of academic background, I hold a master's degree in education policy and administration from Stanford University and a law degree from Yale Law School. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college and self-financed 100% of my post-secondary education. I'm keenly aware of the financial struggles of today's students. I've met with UDC's president, Dr. Maurice Eddington, studied the university's strategic plan, and support his leadership in the strategic plan's direction. I think the district is fortunate to have attracted Dr. Eddington and hope to aid him in particular in carrying out his vision and the university's vision for heightened levels of student success, measured both in terms of certificate and degree completion and acquisition of knowledge and skills valued in the workplace. Currently in Massachusetts, I'm spearheading an effort to heighten student success measured in terms of public college degree completion, consistent with current jurisprudence. I'm familiar with national research and organizations working in the student success space. But I want to be clear, to my mind and in my experience, effective institution of higher education trustees help set goals and objectives, monitor progress, as well as institution finances, offer external support, and hold administrators accountable for actions of the institution. They do not, should not, seek to run the daily operations of an institution. That task is for capable leaders such as Dr. Eddington. Should Dr. Eddington fail or leave, I would consider it a high priority to identify a successor that shares a similar vision to him for UDC and one that's consistent with the university's strategic plan. I've been extraordinarily fortunate in life due to family, friends, and circumstances beyond my control. But above all else, I've been extraordinarily fortunate in life in that I've received quality educational opportunities ranging from Head Start to Pell Grant receipt. I've devoted my career to extending similar quality educational opportunities to students of all backgrounds. I seek to serve on the UDC board in furtherance of that goal, and not coincidentally to build a more fair, decent, and just society. Thank you, Chair Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I'm happy to respond to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dannenberg. And Mr. Kroom.
Good afternoon, Chair Mendelson and members of the committee. I'm David Kroom, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Board of Trustees for the University of the District of Columbia. I'm grateful to Mayor Bowser for nominating me, and I'm truly honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of our district. Born and raised in South Florida, I'm the grandson of Caribbean immigrants, descendants of sharecroppers from rural Alabama, and the son of an adult learner. Both sides of my family instilled in me that education was a path out of poverty, and I was among the first in my family to have a traditional post-secondary journey, going straight from high school to a selective college about 1,500 miles away from my home. After graduation, I moved to DC to start my career, and I've lived in this area for 15 years, with the last 13 being a resident of Wards 1 and Wards 4. I've spent my career as an advocate around post-secondary education, ensuring through research and our advocacy that students of color and low-income adults are able to attain quality post-secondary credentials without significant barriers. My career began as a congressional aide for Congresswoman Maxine Waters, where I focused on for-profit higher education and policies to make that segment accountable for poor outcomes. After graduation, or after graduate school, I spent 5 years at Lumina Foundation, where I led strategic projects to forge better federal and student finance policies to ensure full participation and completion by traditionally marginalized groups. After Lumina, I spent 6 years at Ascend at the Aspen Institute, a leader in the two-generation field, where I was hired to create a new initiative in partnership with researchers, college leadership, policymakers, and students focused on the 20% of the college undergraduate population who are parents. Since early 2024, I've been an employee of JP Morgan Chase's global philanthropy practice within its jobs and skills pillar, which is responsible for setting the firm's goals and approach to expanding economic opportunity and career pathways and making national level philanthropic investments to execute this approach. I manage grants focused on credentialing at community colleges and historically Black colleges, universities, high school to career pathways, and post-secondary policy and advocacy. With my expertise, I believe I would be an ideal candidate for UDC's board. I believe that DC residents deserve as high quality a public higher education offering within the district as possible. The strategic plan that UDC recently released in fall 2024, Delivering on the Promise, contains many thoughtful elements that are compelling to me as a potential board member. I would be interested in how UDC can fully optimize its connections to K-12 through improved dual enrollment opportunities with DCPS and local public charter schools. I think UDC and its community college can be a high-quality workforce development institution through continued investment and implementation of best practices. I also plan to bring my own relationships and knowledge of the broader higher education ecosystem to bear for UDC. In particular, I want to facilitate learning from peer public and urban institutions as the sector plays a unique role as compared to its flagship peers. Thank you, Chair Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I'd be happy to respond to questions from you and the members of the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, each of you, for your testimony, and thank you also for your willingness to serve. I have several questions that I ask at every confirmation hearing. I have a couple more hearings following this. I'll be asking the same questions. For each of you, do you have a sense of how much time is involved with your service on the UDC Board of Trustees? And do you have that time to serve? Dr. Oyedel?
Yes, so during my conversations with Dr. Eddington, I did inquire about the commitment with regards to committee obligations as far as the frequency of board meetings and other ad hoc requirements via appearances or impromptu committee work, and did get a good sense for what the time commitment requires. I do currently believe that I have the capacity to commit to this responsibility. I would not be in this position if I had not done my due diligence to assess that capacity.
Thank you. And Mr. Dannenberg?
I expressed to Dr. Eddington that I'm capable of serving 4 calendar days a month on the board, and he submitted that that was more than sufficient.
Okay. And Mr. Kroon?
Similarly, I had a conversation with President Eddington, and I believe I have the capacity to serve this board.
Second, I sent to each of you pre-hearing questions, and I asked, this was one of the questions, but I always ask it at the hearing. Are you current in your taxes and obligations to the District of Columbia government, federal government, and any other state government? Dr. Oyedel?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Dannenberg?
I am as well.
And Mr. Kroon?
Yes.
And third, conflict of interest. I don't know that there would be a conflict of interest, but the question is, do you think there could be one that comes up at any time? And then also, whether you think there could be or not, what would you do if the conflict of interest did come up? Dr. Oyedel?
I do not believe there currently is a conflict of interest. However, because I do lead a grant-making organization focused on educational equity in the district, if there were an opportunity to support UDC's work, I would recuse myself from any decisions pertaining to that matter.
And Mr. Dannenberg?
I do not have any financial conflict of interest or otherwise. My service on the UDC board, should a conflict arise, I would notify both the board, the president of the university, as well as my employer or other entity that is involved in the conflict, and if necessary, recuse myself.
Thank you. And Mr. Kroon?
I currently don't have any conflict, but there is potential in terms of my potentially employer giving a grant to UDC. We have a formal process with which I would recuse myself in the decision-making in any part of the process for that consideration. And if there were any upcoming conflict of interest, as mentioned, I would similarly report it and be as transparent as possible to make sure to review and remove it.
Thank you. And I'm going to, at this point, be paying more attention to time. I think we still have about 14 minutes for you, Mr. Oyedel. Do you have a sense of, this is for each of you, what is the most pressing challenge for the university and how that could be addressed? Maybe I'll mix up the order. Mr. Kroon?
Yes. I think across the board, not just with UDC, but enrollment is a persistent challenge. It's pretty much stagnated, at least higher education enrollment has stagnated and is slowly on the climb. I was heartened to see that UDC last year mentioned that from fall 2023 to 24, the enrollment had gone up. I would say in particular, I think that's going to be a persistent challenge for UDC. I think in particular, thinking through UDC's offerings, especially considering the breadth and depth of those offerings, going all the way from workforce education to two-year community college to four-year institutions, and offerings in that space. It'll be really incumbent on the board and the administration to think through those offerings and how it can ensure that it can maintain and grow its enrollment through connectivity to employers, connectivity to workforce development offerings, improved dual enrollment with DCPS, and all sorts of opportunities to increase that number.
Dr. Oyedel.
I agree with Mr. Kroom's assessment of the biggest opportunity. I definitely think that there are some opportunities to retrain and develop local residents and individuals who may be impacted in various ways by the economic climate, some of the things that are happening federally. But I do think it starts with recruiting and retaining talented staff, making sure that our program offerings are robust and well thought out, that they're being delivered with high quality, that we're strengthening our partnerships locally with our K-12 institutions, continue to think about post-secondary pathways and how to build a pipeline for businesses and other institutions locally, using UDC as a backbone for that process. And so shoring up enrollment will be critical to that factor.
Thank you, Mr. Dannenberg.
First of all, I agree with both witnesses with respect to the importance of enrollment. I have a slightly different take, which is, to my mind, the number one priority is student success. To the extent that student success involves retention of students, that implicitly will help with enrollment because we have a dropout problem at UDC as well as nationally. So I would place a high priority, as does the strategic plan, on boosting both degree completion as well as the connection of students and academic programs to the needs of employers in the region.
Do you have any thoughts? This is for all three of you. Any thoughts on how UDC can grow its academic reputation while staying accessible? I'll start with you, Mr. Dannenberg.
Well, I think if UDC can markedly improve its student completion rate, it can be one of the, if not the, best HBCU in the country, public HBCU in the country. And I think that should be its goal. What we know about boosting student success is that in many cases, it's not academics that gets in the way, but it's life. For students who stop out, they stop out because of housing insecurity, transportation needs, food insecurity, childcare needs. 1 in 4 students is a parent. And what we have seen in other places, like in New York and in Ohio, that successful interventions whereby there is proactive advising of students and emergency financial support can have a marked impact on positively affecting completion rates.
Mr. Kroom?
I would totally agree with everything that Michael mentioned. I think that, as I mentioned before, UDC has a unique opportunity considering that they offer a semblance of credentialing, again, from workforce all the way up to 4-year. And I think there's really unique instances and differences between those sectors, so which I think is a unique challenge, right? So in my mind, I think from the student success frame, thinking about basic needs and security is relevant for all students. But I think in particular for the workforce development and employer piece, I think ensuring that DC has high quality employer partnerships, that students who are who are going through their workforce training and credentialing programmings are ending up with high quality jobs, that will ensure, at least from that lens and those sectors, that UDC is seen as a high quality option. I think there's going to be a discrepancy or difference of the 4-year side. I think that, not to say that employer and career connectivity doesn't exist there, but there's additional sort of elements there that exist around a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of creating a really great experience, a college experience that I think UDC will have to think through in terms of infrastructure, in terms of culture, in order to really, I think, improve its reputation. So.
And Dr. Oyedel.
Yeah, and I would only add that I do think it's a combination of those things, both improving on the student experience to ensure that we shore up the graduation rates, ensuring that the placements and the securing of jobs with employers and other regional partners yield promising results. Obviously, there's some short-term interventions that could lead to a dramatic boost in reputational quality, but I also think that there's some long-term investments that need to be made to ensure that the four-year track in particular is delivering a robust and comprehensive student experience.
So I should have asked this earlier when you all spoke to enrollment being one of the challenges. What strategies come to mind for increasing enrollment? Dr. Oyedel.
If I could have one moment, I just need to grab something from the second counter. So I will be happy to respond shortly.
All right, let me turn to then Mr. Dannenberg.
In Massachusetts, we recently extended financial aid to community college students to make all community colleges in this Commonwealth tuition and fee free. First for 25-year-olds and above, and now ultimately for all students of all ages, all income levels. We have seen a 24% increase in community college enrollment accordingly. And it frankly didn't cost a great deal because so much financial aid is provided at the federal level. The state aid that comes on top of that in order to make community colleges tuition and fee free is relatively modest, but it's had a market impact in Massachusetts.
Mr. Kroom.
I would say that from my lens, the stickiest students in terms of who I think would be willing to stay within the district and looking for high quality offerings are those within the K-12 settings who went to DCPS. So I think, again, what we've seen in other states, like in Iowa, comes to mind for me, where they really have added a bonus to it really compels students to do dual enrollment. And community colleges there have seen a market increase in population because of it. So I think K-12 students, I could also see, again, thinking through the sort of employer connectivity and offerings, whether it be through work-based learning opportunities, apprenticeships, really creating a moment and synergy for adult learners to see a lot of value within the UDC structure. I think that's like, at least from a community college and workforce training perspective, how I think enrollment could be improved in that space. I think the four-year context, to be perfectly honest, is going to be challenging. I think that there's a lot of competition within the region, and admittedly, that's kind of the larger concern or sort of pressure and tension within UDC is the sheer amount of competition that's occurring. But I think thinking through infrastructure, thinking through the basic needs and security piece, the community, the offerings, and again, looking at strategies that other historically Black colleges are also using too, I think would be, because this is this is not like an issue that's specific to UDC, this is across the board, especially among HBCUs. I think there could be some really great strategies, especially in the advising piece, that could be really relevant for four-year students to keep them and retain them.
Dr. Oyedel.
Yes, apologies.
Increasing enrollment.
Yes, I definitely think strengthening partnerships, particularly in the K-12 space, via dual enrollment opportunities, certification programs, and things of that nature would be a tremendous pathway to increasing enrollment, at least locally. And nationally, continuing to build out robust programs that are relevant and are connected to modern day career opportunities or trends that are emerging as needs, given the evolving nature of our world and our society. Would be important to expanding our base and enticing folks from outside of the region to consider UDC as a valuable offering. I think the challenges are great, and obviously you want to have programs that are enduring, but a lot of this is about the reputational quality of the programs, the execution of the programs, and the ability to entice talented staff and faculty to come and lead and bring their credentials and their credibility to some of the offerings that UDC has.
Thank you. I have one last question. I'll go with you, Dr. Oyedel, and then you can get off because it's almost 1:40. This is a question I don't think I've ever asked at a confirmation hearing, but What specific outcomes should the council and public hold you accountable for? So you're serving on the Board of Trustees.
I
What are we
think,
accountable for?
I think we're equally accountable for the outcomes described in the new strategic plan and boosting graduation rates, increasing enrollment, retention of staff, delivery of high quality programs, any renovations and things of that nature. So I hold myself personally accountable for helping support the vision and the mission that's been outlined and described in the strategic plan. If we're not meeting the mark on that part, I see myself as equally culpable for not delivering and providing the capacity that I think I bring to the table to help us achieve that.
Thank you. And if you need to sign off, you're free to do so.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry for the nature of this engagement, but I look forward to more conversations and supporting the district in the future past. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kroom.
I would agree that I thought that the delivering on the promise was really useful because it specifically provided a sense of metrics, nothing that's super new, graduation rate, retention, all the things that matter. But I would say as a board member, actually actively engaging with administration around how they're tracking those data. I think also I think it's great to see that UDC is part of the larger sort of education data system that exists within DC. That's something else that a lot of states are trying to fight for, is to ensure that we actually have a good sense of the trajectory of students from K to 12 through post-secondary into employer context. So I think seeing the full nature and scope of that work, I think is a good sense of where the board can sit and play a provocateur role.
Thank you, Mr. Dannenberg.
It's a good question. I think I would welcome being held accountable for ensuring the financial integrity and stability of the institution, first and foremost. And secondly, improvement in student success as measured in degree completion, certificate degree completion, but also postgraduate outcomes.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions for you. These hearings are not only an opportunity for us to actually meet the candidates before the council considers you, but also an opportunity for the public, if the public has concerns, to come forward. Not seeing much in terms of public concerns, which is a good sign. As I indicated before, the record in this matter will close on May 14th. Which means that my intent is to take this up at a council meeting, committee of the whole meeting and council meeting, the first Tuesday in June. If you have any other questions, please reach out to my office, my staff. And with that, I am going to close out this hearing. The time is 1:40 p.m. and this roundtable is adjourned. Never ask those questions. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, of course. Listen, like, see, you guys are smart guys. I'm looking forward to
I'm calling to order this hearing or roundtable. This is a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. The time is 2:03 p.m. and we are in room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building. The subject of this roundtable is consideration of two resolutions introduced at the request of the mayor on March 6th of this year. Both concern nominations for appointment to the Historic Preservation Review Board. The resolutions are PR 26-129 entitled Historic Preservation Review Board, Matthew Bell Confirmation Resolution of 2025, and PR 26-130 entitled Historic Preservation Review Board, Patrick Williams Confirmation Resolution of 2025. The stated purpose of these resolutions is to confirm the nominations for reappointment of Matthew Bell as an architect member of the Historic Preservation Review Board and Patrick Williams as an architectural historian member of the Historic Preservation Review Board, both for a term ending July 21st, 2028. The Historic Preservation Review Board is the official body of advisors appointed by the mayor to guide the government and public on the preservation of historic buildings and property in the District of Columbia. The board also assists with the implementation of federal preservation programs and the review of federal projects in the district. The purpose of today's roundtable is to receive testimony as to the fitness of the nominees, to give an opportunity for the public to weigh in if they so choose. And given the witness list, there doesn't seem to be any controversy here. And then as well for the committee to hear from the nominees. So we'll proceed to the nominees. Matthew Bell, who is here in person, and Patrick Williams, who I believe is participating online. And so I believe we have statements from each of you. And Mr. Bell, why don't you go first? And then we'll hear from Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Mendelson and members of the committee. I'm Matt Bell, and it's my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Historic Preservation Review Board. I'm grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me and an honor to have the opportunity to serve the residents of our city and be reappointed. I've lived in the district since 1983, except for a period of 4 years studying and teaching at Cornell University. I've raised my children here, sent them to DC public schools, and have been engaged in the profession of architecture in private practice and teaching at the School of Architecture at the University of Maryland since 1989. I practice architecture with several firms in the city, and my current affiliation is as principal at Perkins Eastman. I have served as president of the Neighborhood Design Center in Baltimore and Prince George's County, assisting lower income communities and community groups in matters of urban design, architecture, and planning. From 1994 to 1999, I was director and conference chair of the Northeast Regional Meeting of the Mayor's Institute on City Design, sponsored by the National Endowment for the Arts, and I served as a juror for the International Biennale of Venice in 2006. I'm a member of Ward 3 Vision, a group dedicated to bringing smart growth to Ward 3 in our city. I'm a registered architect, and in 2013, I was elevated to serve as a fellow in the American Institute of Architects. My professional work has received awards from the American Institute of Architects, Congress for the New Urbanism, the United States Green Building Council, Urban Land Institute, and the Committee for 100 on the Federal City, to name a few. I'm also a fellow of the Congress for the New Urbanism. My work at Perkins Eastman ranges in scale from waterfronts, new towns, and neighborhoods to residential projects, civic and mixed-use buildings, and schools. In the city, I have been responsible for projects ranging from master plans, such as the city's plan for Upper Georgia Avenue, the Foggy Bottom Campus Master Plan for George Washington University, and the initial master plan for the National Stadium District, and Hill East Plan, and the Master Plan and Community Center for the Reservoir District, the McMillan site on North Capitol Street. My building projects have included School Without Walls, Dunbar High School, and Roosevelt High School. Most recently completed Cleveland Park Library and the Mixed-Use Collection 14 in the U Street Historic District, a project that recently won top honors from the CNU and NIOP. Several of these projects were either modernizations or additions to landmark buildings or sites themselves on sites located in historic districts. My current projects include master plans and building projects for American University and Catholic University, along with mixed-use projects that comprise residential, retail, and open space development. I've had the great fortune of practicing and teaching architecture and urban design in our great city, and I'm proud of the positive impact our projects have made to improve schools, neighborhoods, public places, and public facilities. Frequently, our projects have had the benefit of reviews by HPRB, and those encounters have surfaced important design issues for our projects, resulting in greater resolution and compatibility with the historic settings in which they reside. It would be a great honor for me to continue to contribute to that dialogue and serve again our community's interest and well-being on the HPRB. Thank you, Chairperson Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I would be happy to respond to questions from you and anyone else.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Let's hear from Mr. Williams, and then I'll have some questions.
Shall I begin?
Please
Can you hear me?
proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Mendelson and members of the committee. I'm Patrick Williams, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my reappointment nomination to serve on the Historic Preservation Review Board. I am grateful to Mayor Muriel E. Bowser for nominating me and honored to have the opportunity to continue serving the residents of our district. I have been practicing architecture in the District of Columbia and the surrounding metro area for over 30 years. The past 18 of these years as a resident of the district. My architectural experience has afforded me the opportunity to work internationally, as well as in New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia, on a variety of projects, predominantly in the public realm. My interest in and experience with historic properties began at the very early stages of my architectural career. After graduating from the University of Technology in Jamaica in 1986, I joined an international team of historic preservation architects on the UNESCO UNDP IDB Government of Jamaica Cultural Heritage Project for the conservation and restoration of cultural heritage cities and sites in Jamaica. On that program, I prepared record drawings to document the existing conditions of the historic buildings at New Seville, Spanish Town, and Port Royal for World Heritage listing. Immediately afterwards, I was employed as supervisor of works at the Jamaican National Heritage Trust for 3 years, with the responsibility for conservation and preservation projects on national heritage sites in Jamaica. In 1989, after being nominated for the Jamaican National Committee of the International Council on Monuments and Sites, I was awarded a summer internship in the U.S. National Park Service Historic American Engineering Record Program to document the historic U.S. steel mill press shop in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Since graduating with the Bachelor of Architecture degree from the City University of New York in 1993, I have been involved in several projects executed within the monumental core in the District of Columbia, including the DC Courthouse Restoration and Addition, the Smithsonian Institution Mall-Wide Perimeter Project, door and window replacements for the architect of the Capitol, and the new Dunbar Senior High School. For the past 12 months, I've been serving as an architect member on the Historic Preservation Review Board, completing the term of a previously vacant position. Admittedly, it took a few months for me to become fully acquainted with the board's deliberative process and the nuances of how it performs its specific functions as outlined in district and federal historic preservation laws. Nevertheless, it has been a rewarding experience to contribute to the board's determination on cases while benefiting from the vast experience and knowledge of my fellow board members. The District of Columbia is home to notable examples of many important architectural movements of the 20th and 21st centuries, most notably Beaux-Arts, Brutalism, and Postmodernism. As such, the board will continue to be involved in evaluating the eligibility of those and other historic buildings for listing in the National Register, as is required under the DC Historic Preservation Law. However, with the continuing real estate development currently being witnessed in the district, it will be just as increasingly important to ensure protection of buildings and neighborhoods which have been designated in the DC inventory. A significant function of the HPRB is to review and make determinations on new construction, substantial additions, significant alterations that are not consistent with regulations, and raises. Based on the thoughtful discourse and adjudication of cases on which I have participated over the past year, I can attest to the fact that each board member takes that responsibility seriously and does not see historic preservation and real estate development as opposites in a zero-sum game. I look forward to my continued service on the HPRB to provide informed collaboration that fosters beneficial solutions to all stakeholders and community interests in the district. Thank you, Chairperson Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I would be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, and thank you as well, Mr. Beld. I do have a few questions. You both have been nominated for reappointment, so you both have a sense of how much time is required to serve on the Historic Preservation Review Board. I probably asked this of you when you first were nominated. Do you have the time and the commitment to serve, Mr. Bell?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes, I do.
Second question, which I ask at every confirmation hearing, and that is about conflicts of interest. Have conflicts of interest arisen while you've served? Do you foresee the possibility of any? And if so, what would you do? Mr. Bell.
Since I am a principal at a firm that practices in Washington, D.C., if my firm has a project in front of the HPRB, I recuse myself. I don't have financial interest in the city in anything other than my house, so I don't have development projects or anything. I do declare if there is a developer that is presenting a project at HPRB who's somebody that we currently are working for, I declare that, and oftentimes I do check with the HPRB staff to make sure that there's no conflict there and what my proper role should be. So.
And so your process would be to declare it and then be advised whether.
Usually I ask the preservation staff first about whether or not they think it's a conflict. And I also oftentimes do declare that, for example, we do business with this company. If it's a company that we're currently do business with, I think I have recused myself in the past, even though it might not be my project.
Yes. Mr. Williams?
Yes, in the 12 months that I've been serving, I have not had a situation arise where I had a conflict of interest. However, if that were to occur, similar to what Board Member Bell has mentioned, I would reach out to the HPO staff, declare it, and use guidance from Vega in whether I should fully recuse from that case.
Thank you. And then third question is, am I blanking? Are you current in taxes and obligations to the district government, federal government, and any other state, Mr. Bell?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Let me ask a couple other questions. I may have put this in my pre-hearing questions. What challenges, if any, do you see before the HPRB, and how do you plan to help? Mr. Bell?
I think one of the challenges we have right now is filling out the board with board members, with good folks. We need good people, good, thoughtful, experienced people on the board. I have been actively proposing people to the preservation staff to serve, and what we have found is that many of them are busy doing what they're doing, practicing architecture and whatnot. And I think that's an ongoing challenge. I mean, I know we have several vacancies on the board. I am always looking for good people. I've proposed a number of people to Steve Calcott, and he's contacted them. I will continue to do that because I think it's important to refresh the board and to make sure we get the best people we can possibly get on the board.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think one of the challenges of the board is maybe more so in regards to its perception and actually how the community sees its role. I think there's a need for a little bit more education, maybe from the board as well as from HPO to communities in the District of Columbia on what it is that we do. The cases that I've actually been participated on in the last 12 months, there have been times when applicants have brought information to the board for us to consider, only to have them realize that some of what they're putting forward, it doesn't fall within our purview. And I think there is actually, even sometimes within the district, a little bit of a pushback in regards to when they hear the two words historic preservation. I myself, when I lived in Brooklyn for about a year, when I was studying at Catholic University, at the time, I think there was a deliberation on whether Brooklyn community wanted to have a historic district, and there were very, people like myself who I considered informed, who were pushing back against it, and the reason why they were doing it seemed to be a little bit more steeped in mythology than actually what the board does. So I would think there would need to be a little bit more of an education campaign to educate the community on what we do and how it benefits them.
We have from time to time had a hearing, oversight over HPRB or the budget hearing or a confirmation hearing where there's been testimony that's been very critical of historic preservation as interfering with the ability to maintain affordable housing stock. I would be surprised if you haven't heard that kind of issue. What's your view of this, Mr. Bell?
Well, I think the city always needs to grow, and it's no secret that we need affordable housing. In my experience, the board has been very judicious in terms of understanding the context of just about any project, whether it's affordable housing or anything else, and making decisions that are appropriate for the consideration of the case, and not necessarily adding cost to a project just because we either have the power to do so or we feel, that the project needs it. I think that there are points where the board has been very, very thoughtful about considering suggested changes or improvements that have been things that have, at least in my view, have not necessarily caused, projects to become more expensive. I think, though, there is in a historic district, one has to be sensitive that the building is compatible as well, but at the same time, make sure that what you're doing is a reasonable suggestion. So what it relies upon for those kinds of decisions is the judgment of the board members about what is a reasonable thing to ask of somebody to do under the context of the parameters of the request and of the submission. And so my experience, I think the board's been quite reasonable that way. I know that is a frequent comment that people hear. It has not been an experience that I've seen with any kind of consistency.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I would concur with what my fellow board member Matt Bell has said. I think above all else, it has to be a conversation. And, these different endeavors are important to the city, historic preservation, as well as affordable housing. We all know the challenges that exist with both of those endeavors. When it comes up, those two things come up together, it begs for a conversation. And it kind of goes back to what I said before about educating the community. I think there are times when these kinds of things happen in the public sphere, and the concern of community members as to how historic preservation might be preventing affordable housing from happening in a meaningful way. People only get concerned when it's in their backyard, if I can use that term. I think we want to get people to understand more about these things and what they mean for the entire city, even when it's not happening in their neighborhood. So we want to encourage that. We want to have that conversation and let people understand that it is a deliberation. Everybody is a stakeholder. Even if the development is not next door to you, you should still understand why it's happening, because that development that's happening a mile away from you could be then happening in 6 months near to you.
Let me just see if I have any other questions. You both, I think, touched on this, but I'll ask it anyway, this way. What role do you think community input or opinion should play in determining questions of historic preservation? I'll start with Mr. Williams this time. Mr. Williams?
Well, Yes. I think dialogue and stakeholder engagement is very important. And to the point where, as we all know, the HPRB takes into account what the ANC says in different parts of the district in regards to cases that we deliberate on. So we should always be aware that having these kinds of conversations is very important. And I think if we look at that as a more embracing, then these projects will be more successful. If I fully answered your question here, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
I think as regards any kind of application to HPRB, the more input generally I found, the better. And people oftentimes say things that may not have occurred to me, or communities may represent points of views which are enlightening in terms of how they see the issue at hand. So I think it's very important for HPRB to listen to community members and also the ANCs in terms of what their view of things is. But I also think it's a two-way dialogue. And I think that in the best cases, I think it's been important for the HPRB to make sure that people understand, as Mr. Williams said, what is our role and what is our obligation? What does the law say about what the preservation issue is? And to make sure people are very clear about those things, because in many cases, people are bringing up issues that, as Patrick said, are not necessarily the purview of the HPRB. So I think that sort of dialogue and helping people understand what we can do and what we can't do is very, very important. I think I'm always gratified when people come and talk to us, because it means they're engaged and they care about their community and they care about their neighborhood, and that's what we want. And I think that for the most part, those sorts of inputs, I may not always agree, I may disagree, I may agree, but for the most part, I think those points of view are very important.
Mr. Bell, I noted in your testimony, you said you're a member of Ward 3 Vision,
Yes.
which I think is fine. However, we've had a number of hearings here with, I think, the Office of Planning, the Office of Zoning. We could have a hearing regarding the Office of Zoning, and we'll get a half dozen witnesses who are upset about the Chevy Chase Civic Core redevelopment. And so do you see that there could be any conflict there if, I guess I should say a little bit more. My understanding is that some of the folks who are opposed to seeing redevelopment there have been trying to use historic preservation to try to slow down the development. Do you see any issue with your membership and that issue? I'm not quite sure I like how I phrased the question.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to answer that way. Let me think here. Well, Ward 3 Vision does advocate smart growth and good growth, not any growth at any cost. And I think it's been fairly articulate about what that means. Certainly, if there was a desire, if there was a proposal on the HPRB docket to make a historic district in that area, I would seriously consider recusing myself. Now, I don't know that Ward 3 Vision has taken a position on that or anything yet. So that I think would remain to be seen. My general sense about those things is to play it safe and to remove myself from any sense of any kind of conflict, appearance of, or literal or appearance of. I think that's the right thing to do. If I'm going to stay on the board, I think that there needs to be a kind of very conservative attitude about those things.
I'm reminded of what you said earlier, which is you would discuss it with staff, you would
Sure.
make it known, and get feedback on.
Absolutely. I'm very well known by the HP staff for reaching out and asking those questions and making sure that I have the correct basis to move forward.
Let me see if I have any other questions. I have no other questions.
Very
Mr.
good.
Bell, thank you for being here in person. Don't take that as shade, Mr. Williams. We love people who are here in person. Thank you, both of you, for your service, and thank you, both of you, for your willingness to continue serving. I said this with the earlier hearing, a roundtable. We are closing the record on May 14th. So anyone who wishes to submit comments on the two nominees has 2 weeks, that is until May 14th at 5 PM to submit them for inclusion in the record. That means that we'll go forward. My plan is to go forward with the committee, the whole vote, and the council vote the first Tuesday in June.
Very good.
So I thank you
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
And that will conclude this hearing. And in a couple of minutes, we will start the next roundtable or hearing. The time is 2:29 and this roundtable is adjourned.
Thank you.
I'm calling to order this hearing, a roundtable. It's a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. The time is 2:33 in the afternoon. We are in room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building, and the subject of this roundtable is consideration of PR 25-159, entitled Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Christopher Bell Confirmation Resolution of 2025. This resolution was introduced at the request of the mayor on March 26th, and the stated purpose of this resolution is to confirm the nomination of Christopher Bell to the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board of Directors, filling a vacant seat formerly held by Jocelyn Williams for the remainder of an unexpired term to end January 5th, 2031. The Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority is an independent body created through an interstate compact between the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Maryland, and the District of Columbia that promotes, develops, and operates Washington Dulles International Airport and the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. The Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board of Directors governs the activities of the authority. Its members are appointed by the governors of Virginia and Maryland and the mayor of the district and the President of the United States. The purpose of this roundtable is to receive testimony as to the fitness of Mr. Bell for appointment to the board. I'll say a little bit more. If I remember correctly, there are 17 members of the board. 7 are appointed by the governor of Virginia, 4 are appointed by the mayor of the District of Columbia, 3 are appointed by the governor of Maryland, and 3 are appointed by the President of the United States. So Virginia has half of the non-federal members if they're all appointed. And it's important that the district, of course, have its full complement appointed. The Washington Airports Authority Compact provides that when a term is up, and I believe the terms are 6-year terms, when a term is up, there is no holdover period. So when Mr. Williams' term expired in January of this year, the seat remained vacant until the council acts on the mayor's nomination and the mayor acts on the council's confirmation and actually makes the appointment. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on May 14th. Anyone who wishes to submit comments or testimony or statements for the record, if they want it included in the record, has 2 weeks to do so. As I indicated, the purpose of this roundtable is to receive testimony as to the fitness of Mr. Bell for appointment to the board, and we have one witness before we turn to the nominee. Warner Session, you're at the table. Why don't you proceed?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Warner Session, and I'm the principal of the Session Law Firm and chairman-elect of the University of District of Columbia Board of Trustees. I'm honored to be here today to express my strong support of the confirmation of Christopher Bell's nomination to the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. As you know, Mr. Chairman, I served 12 years on the MWAA board, including 2 years as chairman. So knowing MWAA as I do, I can state without hesitation that Christopher Bell is an exceptional candidate for this position, bring a wealth of experience and a proven track record of leadership and dedication to public service. As the Assistant Secretary and Deputy General Counsel at the Conservation Fund, Christopher has demonstrated his commitment to environmental stewardship and sustainable development. His role at the Conservation Fund has equipped him with the skills and knowledge necessary to navigate complex regulatory environments and foster collaborative relationships with diverse stakeholders. Christopher's extensive experience in legal and governmental affairs makes him uniquely qualified to serve on the MWAA board. His resume highlights his significant contributions to various organizations, including his leadership in advancing public-private partnerships and his expertise in managing large-scale projects. Christopher's ability to balance the interests of multiple parties while ensuring compliance with legal and ethical standards will be invaluable to the MWAA board. Moreover, Christopher's dedication to community engagement and his proactive approach to addressing the needs of underserved populations align perfectly with MWA's mission. His work at the Conservation Fund, where he has been instrumental in promoting conservation efforts and enhancing community resilience, reflects his commitment to creating positive impacts that extend beyond the immediate scope of professional responsibilities. Christopher Bell's achievements are numerous and noteworthy. During his tenure at Fannie Mae, he served as Associate General Counsel for Housing and Community Development, where he was the lead attorney for affordable housing transactions. He provided counsel on complex real estate finance transactions, including mortgage-backed securities and bond executions. Christopher has also been deeply involved in community engagement projects. At the Conservation Fund, he led initiatives to support urban green spaces and community gardens, which provided local residents with access to fresh produce and recreational areas. He has also worked on projects aimed at improving water quality and restoring natural habitats in underserved communities. These efforts have not only enhanced the quality of life for residents, but have also fostered a sense of community and environmental stewardship. As chairman-elect of the University of District of Columbia Board of Trustees, I've had the privilege of working closely with Christopher on various initiatives. His collaborative spirit, strategic thinking, and unwavering integrity have consistently impressed me. Christopher's ability to lead with empathy and vision will undoubtedly contribute to the continued success and growth of MWAA. In conclusion, I wholeheartedly endorse Christopher Bell's nomination to the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. His exceptional qualifications, combined with his dedication to public service and community engagement, make him the ideal candidate for this very important role. I urge the council to confirm his nomination and allow him to bring his expertise and leadership to the MWAA board. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Session. I have two questions. First, you alluded to this, but you actually didn't say it outright. You have served for the last many months with Mr. Bell on the UDC Board of Trustees.
Correct.
Can you say just a little bit more about your experience or what you've seen of him as a trustee?
Yes, my tenure has been just a little over a year. And as you well know, as chairman, you have to, build a collaborative spirit, solicit input from all your fellow board members, and he does that extremely well. He has really engaged directly with our new president, as you know, who's a little over 2 years on the job. And what I've seen is the ability to enable the vision of the University of District of Columbia, and that's is a direct result of President Edening's leadership, coupled with the leadership of the chairman of the board, Christopher Bell. Delivering on the promise, that's our theme, and what I've seen in the year that I've been there, that's in fact what's happening.
You did testify this. You served on the MWAA board for 12 years. How much time does that take?
A lot. It's first of all, it's drinking through a fire hose. While we meet on at the time that I was on the board, we met on a monthly basis, but there was a lot of committee meetings in between, and just a lot of activities. Now, keep in mind, at the time I was on the board, we were building a Silver Line, which took a lot of attention. That's now completed. We're also doing Project Journey, which is the new American Airlines terminal, which is also now completed. I guess the next big thing is probably the 14 new gates that are being built at Dulles. But my point here is that I think the really big signature projects have largely been completed. Not to say that there's still not a lot of work to do.
So it was once a month. How long are the meetings?
Most of the day.
So it's pretty much day long.
It's day long, yeah.
And then the committee membership, is that optional?
No, well, we have a committee structure and the chairman of the board allocates the members to the various committees, but it's never or rarely a committee of the whole. So of the 17 members, or in my case, it was just 14 during the time I served, those 14 members would be allocated between 5 different committees.
And so how much time does the committee work take?
Depending on the nature of the issue on the table. By way of example, when we were addressing labor wage issues for the workers at the airport, that took a lot of time because you had, a lot of stakeholders, a lot of public interest in raising wages. You had, unions that weighed in, so that took a lot of time. Other times it's issues that are not as compelling, and committee meetings were pretty efficient, and we didn't have to spend a lot of time, in the hearing room. Now, 2 of those years, of course, maybe 3 were, during COVID. So that was a little different situation because most of that was hybrid, or I should say actually virtual.
So 2 or 3 committee memberships,
Yeah,
those are not day-long meetings?
no,
Half a day?
half a day, maybe a couple hours. Some instances, we would combine the committee meetings with the board meetings. That is, before a full board meeting, we'd have a committee meeting in person. This is pre-COVID. So that's part of the reason it would be an all-day event. Other times, we changed it where the committees would meet on separate days, which I believe is the case now. The committees and the full board meetings take place on different days.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you very much for being here and for your testimony.
Thank you.
Let's call Christopher Bell, the nominee. When you're ready, and good afternoon. Turn on your microphone.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Christopher Bell, and it's my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board. I'm grateful to Mayor Bowser for nominating me and honored to have the opportunity to serve the residents and the District of Columbia. By way of professional and personal background, I am a real estate finance attorney with expertise in housing finance, economic development, and conservation. I hold my undergraduate degree from the University of Texas at Austin and hold advanced degrees from the University of Texas at Austin and Harvard University. I presently work for the Conservation Fund, a national nonprofit focused on conservation and economic development across the United States as Deputy General Counsel. Prior to joining the Conservation Fund, I was a partner at a major law firm and held in-house positions, including Associate General Counsel at Fannie Mae. Throughout my career, I have always sought to be a convener, bringing together various stakeholders for the good of the whole. I see that as the charge of the MWAA board and something I would continuously see to do during my service. Washington, D.C. is my home. My wife of 26 years and I have lived in Washington, D.C. since 1999. Our 3 children, all born in Washington, D.C. My daughter, Maria, is a recent graduate of Middlebury College in Vermont. My son, Jovan, is a sophomore at Beacon College in Florida. And my youngest son, Xavier, is a junior at Jackson Reed High School. All 3 have participated in DCPS schools and programs. They are the greatest part of our lives, and they root me in my commitment to serve the city and our region. Being a parent also reminds me of the greatest calling of the MWAA board, and that is to foster a culture of safety for each person who enters our region by air. Recent events have reminded us of our tendency to take for granted the safety of air travel. Members of the council, I can assure you that I will work with our leadership to foster strong collaboration with the Federal Aviation Administration and other safety champions to claim our longstanding of being a hub for safety and safety innovation. With Washington, D.C. being our home, I've been called to serve in a variety of civic capacities. Presently, I serve on the Board of Trustees for the University of the District of Columbia and have been supporting this great organization since 2011. For the last 7, I have served as chair of the board. I'm very proud of Firebird Nation and the many accomplishments that UDC has garnered during my tenure in academic programs, reputational standing, growth in the academic infrastructure, increased research dollars, and growth in commitments from students, commercial, residential, and alumni stakeholders. I also serve on the FDR Memorial Legacy Committee, which is the Friends Group for the FDR Memorial, promoting FDR's legacy and disability awareness. I'm on the board for the DC Soccer Club, which promotes youth soccer in the District of Columbia. Finally, since March of this year, I've been serving on the board for Van Ness Main Street, a citizen group that promotes the Van Ness neighborhood. I'm excited to be nominated to serve on the MWAA board. I am particularly interested in how MWAA shapes and promotes economic development in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. In preparation for a role on MWAA, I have had the pleasure of speaking with former MWAA board chair Warner Session and current MWAA chair Thorne Posen. I appreciate their kindness in talking with me. During these conversations, both shared current challenges and opportunities confronting both Reagan National Airport and Dulles Airport, and the roles that our regional airports play in economic development. I am eager to approach the oversight challenges regarding the real estate and administrative infrastructure of MWAA. I am particularly interested in the economic development apparatus that is MWAA. These airports are vital engines of economic growth for the region. The revenues generated by the airports will fuel future investments in the growth and operations of the airports. Future projects on the agenda include roadways, parking structures, terminal construction, and retail expansion. These projects will need experienced oversight to help navigate the future of the ever-changing airline industry. MWAA will play a critical role as both airports continue their build-out, creating airline revenue streams and managing passenger customer service. In addition to economic development, I have a particular interest in sustainability initiatives in the airline industry. Given my present employment as a conservation and economic development attorney, I am interested in sharing my expertise in how sustainability and economic development can align to create revenue streams and job opportunities for stakeholders, both at Reagan National and Dulles International airports. Finally, I would like to say that I look forward to getting to learn more about MWAA workforce, about the MWAA workforce that makes both airports so successful. These individuals do their jobs and do them well, and in so doing, they have created an environment of world-class service and quality flying experiences that enable passengers to have quality experiences while on either campus. I believe that my professional experience, academic background, and track record for civic engagement will enable me to be an immediate asset of MWAA. As a real estate attorney with experience in zoning, real estate finance, commercial leasing, and conservation finance, I am well suited to the challenges that confront MWAA, and I look forward to working with the talented board members that presently comprise the MWAA board and interacting with the administrative teams that guide operations at both airports. Thank you, Chair Mendelson, for the opportunity to testify before this committee of the whole. I would be happy to respond to any questions from you and/or members of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Your statement covered a lot. I just have a few questions. I ask this at every hearing.
Okay.
You were present when Mr. Session answered my questions about how much time it takes to be on the board. He thought I was just being curious, but this was actually set up for me to say, you know how much time he said it takes. Do you have that time to serve and the commitment to serve?
Yes, I do.
Do you know of any potential conflicts of interests that could arise while serving on the airport's authority?
No, I do not.
If there were to be a conflict that came up, how would you handle it?
Well, if there was a conflict, I would, of course, disclose that conflict in accordance with MWAA procedures and guidelines. And then in addition to that, I would consult with the MWAA Board General Counsel and as well as BIGA to make sure that the conflict is resolved in a way that's acceptable.
Which probably would include recusal.
Absolutely.
Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, or other state or local governments?
I do not.
I was curious, what is the FDR Legacy Memorial Committee Board of Directors? You actually said what it was, but how do
Sure.
you end up on that?
So that's one that's personal and close to my heart. So the FDR Memorial Legacy Committee preserves the memorial at FDR. We're the Friends group. So we work to provide education about FDR and make general issues known about the memorial to the general public. It's a service I hold very dear because of the second component that they do, which is disability awareness. My middle child is a neurodivergent learner, and so I want to make sure that he has full access to disability rights and issues. And so my service on that board is in part due to my son's challenges that he has in making sure that others are able to have disability issues resolved for them and be able to effectively participate in society.
And the Memorial Committee, it maintains the memorial, or
No,
it just has an education campaign around it?
It's more of an educational campaign. So the memorial itself is maintained by the National Park Service. However, we as a Friends group are constantly work with the Park Service when there's issues about maintenance, deferred maintenance. We do programmatic events. For example, we just had an event that celebrated the victory in Europe that was on Monday. We'll do events that celebrate the Americans with Disabilities Act at the memorial. So it's a general array of issues that celebrate both actually FDR as well as Eleanor Roosevelt, because she's the only first lady that's actually at a memorial. But also a secondary component is disability awareness and campaigns to promote disability instruction in schools and awareness throughout the country.
Yes, I forgot, but Monday would have been the 80th anniversary of the
Victory in Europe, yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
And then the Van Ness Main Street Board of Directors. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that's because of your work at UDC.
Exactly. So as chair of the board, I was asked if I was interested, and I told them that I wouldn't be able to do much of anything until I stepped down from the board altogether. But I do believe in economic and community development, and so that's the group that's working to kind of help turn that corridor around. And so not only was I at UDC, but also Fannie Mae used to be there. That 4250 building there was where the multifamily home of Fannie Mae was. So I'm quite familiar with that, just that whole neighborhood. And so I was asked if I could help out with, providing advice about economic development issues around there.
And do you plan on staying on that board?
Yes, as time permits, I will stay on it. It's a new board. They meet every other month. It's virtual. So right now, it's not something that drains on my time at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you for your service to UDC,
Thank you.
and thank you for your willingness to serve on the Airports Authority.
I appreciate that.
As I indicated at the beginning of the hearing, the record will close in 2 weeks. Anyone who wishes to submit comments has until 5 p.m. on May 14th. And then we're looking to schedule this resolution confirmation for the first Tuesday in June.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
And that'll actually be the same day that we're looking to schedule the markups for the UDC nominations the mayor sent down.
Okay. Excellent.
Seems to be a little bit of interrelationship
Yes.
here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Bell.
I appreciate it.
That is going to conclude this hearing. The time is 2:56 p.m. and this hearing or roundtable is adjourned.